sometimes I'm not sure what is scarier. The fact that the world is coming apart at the seams, or the fact that the man who is supposed to be leading Western civilization through the turmoil is also, well, coming apart at the seams. Speaking in Philadelphia Friday, Joe Biden had yet another one of his close encounters of the stairs kind. This time, when he attempted to mount a small riser to give a speech on how Bidenomics is contributing to a stronger America. Have a look at this. Yikes, good recovery there, sir. Let's have a look at this from another angle and note that this stumble was preceded by that little jog he likes to do to show how vigorous he is. Anyway, as a metaphor for Bidenomics and pretty much everything else this White House touches, well, I think that vision kind of says it all, because, yes, to its great credit, the administration has said and done most of the right things since Hamas's psychotic pits of hell terrorist attack on southern Israel. But it has steamed naval assets into the eastern Mediterranean, prioritized military supplies, and Joe Biden was out of the box early with comments supportive of Israel. Yet at the same time, and here's where the problem comes in, there is no escaping these facts either. One, Iran is Hamas's #1 source of support. And indeed, the U.S. government has conceded that Hamas, if it weren't for Iran's backing, wouldn't exist. Now, two, this is a disturbing bit, the United States under Joe Biden has gone out of its way to rehabilitate Tehran, give it money, and allow it to earn foreign currency by selling millions of barrels of oil, even putting it on the path to possessing a nuclear weapon of its very own. Look here at Secretary of State Anthony Blinken trying to justify one part of the piece of the program to enrich Iran, the unfreezing of $6 billion, which the administration finally, after pressure, turned around just earlier.
When it comes to $6 billion, it's important to be very clear because, unfortunately, some people are either misinformed or they're misinforming. The money in question, Iranian money, not American taxpayer dollars, is money that was allowed to accrue in a bank account from the sale of Iranian oil. What we did is we moved the money from one account in South Korea to another account in Qatar where the money could actually be used, but under the supervision of our Treasury Department, only for humanitarian purposes, and not a dollar of that money has been spent to date. And we retain the right to freeze that account.
Now, note, of course, he doesn't mention all the other money Iran has been allowed to earn, or the fact that funds that are freed up for humanitarian purposes, so-called, are also freeing up funds that can then be used for things like, well, Hamas butchering sprees. And here's the line White House spokesman John Kirby tried to take to sidestep the question of what happens to Iranian money and why the U.S. won't simply say, no, you have not getting this money.
Why is it that you won't come out and say that the U.S. does not intend to let this money go to Iran?
Jackie, we've always had, since the beginning, we've always had the ability to provide oversight over the disbursement of these funds. We've always had the option, if we wanted it, to look at transactions and to make a call about whether we found it valid or not. That has not changed. And even now, as you and I are speaking, none of that money has been accessed by anybody. It's still all there.
Now, this is just gibbering from John Kirby. It doesn't make any sense. And it's only after Republicans and the media and the world put pressure on the White House that they said, all right, fine, you can't get the $6 billion just yet. But there's a lot of reasons why I think this dance is going on. Now, one part of it comes back to the fundamental shift that happened in the United States under Barack Obama, when Iran became America's privileged partner in the Middle East over Israel. But a second part of this is a practical problem that the administration has created for itself. Namely, it's this. By strengthening Iran and weakening America, both deliberately, I might add, the Democrats have now given Iran the whip hand over the United States, and they can now threaten to rerun the strategic and oil crises that made the 1970s such a nightmare. Remember that? I'm showing my age here remembering those gas prices, but it gets worse. At the same time as the Biden administration has been handing billions of dollars to Iran and letting them pump oil again, they also have let the American Strategic Petroleum Reserve run down to a 17-day supply. And because of the geology of the underground caverns where that fuel lives, or used to live, it will be almost impossible to fill those stores back up again. And the Biden administration has also done everything it can to make it impossible for oil companies to drill for new oil in the U.S., destroying the energy independence America had under Trump. This means that America's enemies can strike as well as their terrorist evil, an inflationary dagger at the heart of the American economy going into the election year, cutting production and spiking prices, making life all that more difficult for Americans, while filling the coffers of the mullahs in Iran and Vladimir Putin in Moscow. At this rate, then, we're all going to wind up, well, just as lost as Joe Biden.